homework part 1. And are you good at art? Well, I think I'm not good at art. I think I'm just good at imagining. For example, we need to make a drawing of, I don't know, town. I'm good just imagining how would the town be, but not actually drawing the town. Yeah, and I don't know, in a painting, I'm not good at like tracing lines and actually like painting or drawing. No, I'm not good at it. Now, have you been to art lessons? If so, where? Yes, I've been to art lessons. And where? In my school. Now, why? Mainly because I think it's the funniest one between the ones we can choose. So there is dance class, music class, theater class, and art class. And between those, I think our class is the funniest one, because you can just let your imagination flow, and you actually don't have to know how to paint, but just be creative. Now, what kind of art do you like? Well, I think as you may know, as I don't like art, I don't know many king of arts, but I think I like Leonardo da Vinci. And mainly because of his art piece called Mona Lisa. And why? Because I think it's amazing how in that age he could actually paint something that when you look at it from any place, it seems to be looking you. So I think that's very interesting and like awesome. Now, is art popular in your country? Well, I think like classic art is not popular in my country. Like actually like Mona Lisas, like those kind of pieces of art, like paintings, are not very famous. But there's another kind of art, like graffitis, that here in Colombia are very famous, and mainly in Bogota. You can find almost in every street a graffiti, and well, there are some nice ones and there are some ones that are not that nice. But yeah, it's very famous here to like paint graffitis in the street, and yeah, that's the art that's famous here. And what about neighboring countries? Well, in neighboring countries, as I said before, I don't know many about arts, but in Brazil, for example, I know also that they paint graffitis, like for example in the favelas. They have a lot of graffitis in their streets, and yeah, that's all I know about art in neighboring countries. Now, have you ever been to an art gallery? Well, I've never been to an art gallery because I think it's a waste of time. You could just use that time in a better way. I mean, not analyzing a piece of art that will not change my life or like add something to me, but just like information that's not necessary or will not help me to improve. So I think you can better, I don't know, see a movie, hang out with friends, read, and yeah, something more interesting. Okay, this is homework part number 2, and I'm gonna talk about a journey that didn't go as planned. Okay, we were traveling, my dad, my mom, my brother and me, to the United States. That day we woke up like at 4 a.m. and as normal, we ate our breakfast and we dressed up and we took bath as a normal day. And last night we did our bags, so everything was ready. we we were supposed to arrive at the airport at 5 a.m. but there was a huge accident, and the traffic jam was massive, so we arrived at 6 a.m. So we were an hour late. When we were about to check in, we remembered we left our documents in our house. So me and my dad had to go back to our home, to the house, and then return. When we returned, well, we checked in and we met some friends, some old friends. So we started talking, and we were not paying attention to what the announcer was saying. So we talked a lot, and we discovered finally that the flight took off and we missed the flight. So yeah, that was like the terrible thing about that journey, and that didn't go as planned. What would I have done to be on time and not to lose the flight? I would have double checked the documents were packed, and I would have searched for alternative routes, alternative ways to get to the airport, to skip the traffic jam, in order to, well, get on time and relax. And I would have paid more attention to what the announcer was saying, not to lose the flight. Yeah, that's all about my journey that didn't go as planned. Okay, this is part 3, homework. And what social problems are there in your country? Were here in Colombia there are a lot of social problems. There is poverty, inequality, but I think the main social problem is violence, and this because of the armed conflict. Now, what can be done to alleviate poverty? Well, to alleviate poverty, there are some strategies like teaching people how to organize their lives and how to use money, and there are some others that help them economically, but not like all the time. They help them just for a few period of time, and then they have to rise and show they really want to get away from that poverty. Now, are there many charities in your country? Well, as far as I know, there are not that much. There are not that many charities in my country, but there are some that I know that help a lot poor people, and give them like the opportunity to work and to rise and to become someone in life. Now, what is the difference between major crime and minor crime? I think the difference between those is the quantity of loss, or the quantity of human like right or human like basic laws you break, or someone like pass over. For example, a major crime would be murder, and a minor crime would be stealing. When you steal, you just take someone that has something that has like an economic value, but when you commit murder, you take a life, and that has no value. Now, do you think all criminals should go to prison? Yes, surely I think that all criminals should go to prison, and it's because they knew what they didn't have to do, and they did it, so they have to learn from what they did wrong. Now, why do so many people move to live in the cities? I think many people move to live in the cities mainly because they search for opportunities. In the periphery of the cities, the outside zone of the cities, there are not as much opportunities as in the cities. In the cities there are lots of schools, lots of universities, lots of work opportunities, but in the outside, like in the rural zone, there are not that much. So yeah, mainly because of opportunities. Now, what problems that overpopulation cause? I think the main problem overpopulation cause is the lack of resources. I mean, how to distribute the resources, because overpopulation means that there are some that can afford to that resources and some that cannot because they don't have like economic sources, or they are like very very poor. So the main problem is how to divide those resources to in a way that everyone get the same. So yeah, that's the main problem. And an example would be like hunger. That food it's available for someone, but for some others it's not.